Welcome to the Gigging Success Podcast. And now, here's your host, Brad Lazarus.
Hello and welcome to the Gigging Success Podcast, where you'll discover the tactics and strategies of some of the world's most successful cover bands that will help you fast-track your way to more of those better-paid gigs you deserve. So, welcome. On this particular episode, I am having a chat with Neville Thirlbeck. Neville is the founder of a website called talentgb.com. Now, before all of those non-UK listeners start turning off, this is going to be relevant for you. Over the last few years, I've seen, I'm sure you've seen, a lot of websites that cut out the middleman. They cut out the agents, though they allow you to upload your profile with all your band details, etc., and then they go off and do the search engine optimization and go and find your audience for you, and then anybody that goes and likes what they see on your profile can then make an inquiry with you direct and book you direct. So in America, there's websites like Gig Salad and Gig Masters. They've been around for quite a while now. TalentGB is very similar to that. So what I thought I'd do is I'd get Neville on the show and give us a little bit of insight into how those websites work and what you can do to get the most out of them. How you can optimize your profile best and make sure that, you know, if you're going to spend a subscription a year on there, that you're going to get something out of it and it's not just going to die a death. So that's what we've got for you today. So we'll get straight on to that. Again, thanks for everybody that's left some positive feedback and have emailed with some positive feedback about the show. If you are enjoying it, please do go to the iTunes store, type in Gigging Success and leave a review there. And again, you can get the Cover Band Essentials Guide at giggingsuccess.com/CBE, and that will give you 5 free and easy killer tactics and strategies to get more bookings and dominate your competition in the current economy. So let's get straight into the interview with Neville. Right, hi, I'm with Neville Thirlbeck. Now, Neville was the founder and runs a website in the UK called talentgb.com. Now, the reason that I wanted to get Neville onto the podcast was because websites like this are becoming increasingly popular, and his was one of the best that I'd seen. They're effectively kind of exchange platforms where people that are looking to book your band or any types of entertainment can come and check you out, look at your profile and make an inquiry for you direct from the actual website. So they're not an agency, they kind of cut out the middleman. So Neville, how are you?
I'm very well indeed, thanks, Brad.
Good. Was that a decent explanation of what talentgb.com is?
It was absolutely precise, Brad.
Good.
We what we aim to do is to empower the artist. So we don't control, we don't take commission. We allow them a platform, a stage, right across the UK to display the quality of their act, their contact details, the all-important sound clips and show reel, so people can audition them on the internet, watch them, listen to them, and hire them direct. So instead of taking 15% from the artist per gig, a lot of our artists find that the annual £30 subscription fee is a bargain. And that's what we aim to do. We aim to provide them with A, exposure, but B, value for money.
Okay, and I should mention as well, for any of our kind of non-UK listeners as well, this is everything that we're going to talk about here is just as relevant, because there are websites like Gig Masters and Gig Salad in the US, and I'm sure in other countries as well, which are doing a very similar thing to TalentGB. So there's going to be a lot of value that we can offer here as well. So just kind of getting down into it, what's your background, Neville? Where have you come from? Why TalentGB and why now?
My background is newspapers, Fleet Street newspapers. I was the news editor, chief reporter at the News of the World prior to its closure. After its closure, I was looking for something to do. And this idea came to me literally while I was asleep. I woke up one morning with this idea fully formed, and I thought, we'll put it into action and see what happens. And the reaction we got from artists was pretty overwhelmingly positive. There are a few people who still prefer the old commission arrangement, and that has been raised a few times amongst artists. Something we're looking at. Maybe we'll have that option available for some people, but it's the kind of, the thing that appeals to them really is that it's all very well having your own website as a band. If it's well designed, looks good, it might make you feel good when you watch it. But is it getting out there? The key is, and this comes from my newspaper background, I'm afraid, I can't shake it off, circulation. It's getting out there, getting seen. And the average website doesn't get seen very much. You need to have, a lot of search engine optimization going on. You need to be high profile and visible. And that's our goal. Once we've got the quality of the website correct, once we've got the correct artists on, we do quality control here. We select our artists, we invite them, all artists can apply. But once we've got the right quality on a good quality website, the third most important thing is getting the website known, getting Talent GB out there. And we do that in a variety of ways.
Okay, so before we get on to that then, just looking at the website as it stands at the moment, you obviously have it's a significantly large database of various acts, from kind of after dinner speakers through to dancers, through to magicians, through to bands. How can people kind of find what they're looking for on here? Presumably you've tagged all of the entries and the profiles, have you?
Yeah, it's the drop-down menus and the regions are the key. So, for example, if you are getting married and you want to hire a jazz band to perform at the function in the evening, and you come from Manchester, then what you would do is you would go to one of the 14 regions that covers you. In this case, it would be Northwest England, and you would search under the drop-down menu jazz band, or you could do it the other way around. So very quickly you can home in on the particular genre of band that performs in your area. When you've done that, you then have a look at each band to see if you like the look of them and the sound of them and their price. And if you do, you ring them or email them and hire them. It's as simple as that.
Right, and that inquiry goes direct, does it? It doesn't go through you.
It doesn't, unless the artist wants that. And there are a handful of artists. I came across one last night, a very good Andrews Sisters style group called the Spitfire Sisters, and they were not happy with the £30 fee. They prefer to work on a commission-only basis, but that's quite rare. I mean, basically, the £30 can be covered by one gig in a year, and that seems to be the way we're going. But I'm not ruling out, obviously, other methods.
Sure. Okay. So, what's the best way that so I'm specifically talking about cover bands here? I presume this would apply to all the acts. What's the best way that they can optimize their profiles to get the most out of the platform that you're promoting effectively? What can they do to make that work for them?
What they need to do is look at some of the best acts on our site, and they pretty much jump out at you, and copy what they're doing. That's the simple explanation. Now, what the best bands are doing is, first of all, making sure they've got a good show reel on YouTube. Now, there's a good show reel isn't necessarily a video cam in front of your live recording. In fact, that is probably the worst type of showreel you could have. It'll be chaotic, there'll be background noise, it'll be too far back, you won't pick up the quality of the band. What you need to do, the best showreels are often a kind of a pastiche. And I notice Jiving Miss Daisy has a very good one. In fact, I've just been watching it now. And it's very good, along with other bands who do this, because they will blend together a whole range of their repertoire. So they might, if they do blues and if they do swing, and if they do big band as well, they might combine all three genres in one 3-minute showreel. And what they might do is they might record the video of a live performance, but then edit it and maybe overdub it with a very good quality MP3, and this gives the best showreel. The showreel is key. Nobody hires now if they don't see a showreel. There's no point in a band putting itself on the web without at least a SoundCloud sound clip, because everybody's doing it. So that's first. The first thing is to get a good quality showreel put together. Spend money on it if necessary. Spend maybe £1,500 or £1,000. It sounds like a lot of money, but you will get the gigs. If you're good and you have a good showreel, you'll get the gigs. It's sad when you can see there's a very good band on the website, and you can hear them. They are good. They are very accomplished. They will be clearly very good, but their showreel is poor, and it doesn't do them justice, and they won't pick up the gigs because of it. So that's very important. I would say the showreel is the most important factor.
Just on that point, I think there's a big kind of psychological barriers that a lot of artists have in the difference between an expense and an investment.
Absolutely.
And if you see the £2,000, it doesn't have to be £2,000. You can spend $700-800 and get something pretty basic done and still be very good. But if you see that as an expense, the chances of you doing it are going to be slim. If you see it as an investment, it's psychologically it's a lot easier to kind of deal with, and then you can break down. Okay, well, if we spend £1,000, how many gigs do we need to pay this back at £100 per gig? Well, it's 10. Okay, so we need 10 gigs, right? That there's your goal.
Absolutely.
So
I would go one step further, Brad. I would say this, and if it's a psychological issue, which I think it is, the enormous expense is a psychological issue. I would say you don't reckon it, even in those terms. I would say it's a bit like starting up in practice as a dentist without a dentist's chair. You need that chair. You need the equipment there. If you're a mechanic in a garage, you can't start a business without a set of spanners. It's the same with function bands. You cannot be in business. You cannot be a professional unless you have a professional showreel. You have to save up and start and invest in it. As being, after you've got your instruments together and your amps and your equipment, the next vital thing is the showreel.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we've got the showreel. Jen, just looking at the profile here, there's a number of different things. You've got the description, testimonials, previous clients, FAQs, the contact details. So you can actually link away from the website onto your own website.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's full opportunity to do that, and then obviously kind of the media side of things as well. Is there anything that bands can do to ensure that they get, if somebody's searching, ensure that they are in the search results more often than anybody else? Is there any way of that?
They can obviously get some help from people who can do search engine optimization, and they can tag very heavily.
I mean, specifically on Talent GB, is there any particular techniques, or is it just filling up your profile the best that you can and making it as optimized as possible?
There's that. But if you want to get yourself out there a bit more, I would advise very careful but frequent use of Twitter and Facebook, but especially Twitter, because most of the bands are on Twitter. And if you use it intelligently, when I say intelligently, it's no good just saying, look at me, look at me. People will soon get fed up with that. But if you engage with people on Talent GB, if you perhaps post pictures of yourself at gigs, announce gigs, or even better, comment on gigs, praise gigs when praise is due, and link to your Talent GB profile at the same time. So you're saying, it was a great gig, I went to see Jiving Miss Daisy last night, superb vocalists, which you do have, I've just been listening to one, very good. And then say at the end of
I should mention, actually, the reason Neville's saying Jiving Miss Daisy, it's one of the acts which I manage. Sorry, carry on. Yeah. So you were saying,
and then link to your Talent GB profile. So at least people are getting some valuable information about the qualities of Jiving Miss Daisy, but they're also getting something else as well, and that is a little look at me at the bottom. Whenever Talent GB sees one of our artists tweeting like this, we will always retweet them. So you can find that within the space of maybe 10 minutes, quite a few thousand people have got to see your profile. And we find that extremely effective. I mean, we've been going just over a year, and we've had just over 75,000 hits from a standing start. And looking at the Google Analytics, I can't remember what the exact figures are, but it's something like 82% comes from a Twitter referral. So bands, I'm often surprised at how even some of the younger bands, haven't quite grasped that yet, aren't on Twitter or use it badly. A lot of bands do selfies and it's all about me, and they're not interacting. Some of the big indie bands do this all the time. It's all about me, and they're not interacting with their fan base, and people turn off from that. But the smart ones are the ones that interact intelligently, and you soon find that they're getting more satisfaction out of their and more results from their Talent GB profile.
Right, so it's kind of helping you help them effectively, really, isn't it?
Ways, Brad, actually, because we benefit as well. Talent GB benefits. But if Talent GB benefits, then, of course, the artists on Talent GB benefit. And, it's a symbiotic relationship, really. It works both ways. So when we retweet one of our band members, it increases their profile and of course ours as well at the same time.
Right, okay, excellent. All right, no, some good stuff there. So from the perspective of why would you not necessarily, if let's say we've put a profile up there and we've done our best, why would we not necessarily be getting inquiries then? Is there any reason? Let's say that we're a half-decent band, we've got a video up there. What might be the reason why we're not getting inquiries?
Normally we find, if the band is good, we normally find that there's something not quite right with the profile. It can be a bad video, or sometimes the band oversells themselves and may sound expensive. So they might say, we've been backing singers for Joe McElderry, we've done a little bit of work on The Voice, a lot of bands do a little bit of work like that, but if you self-aggrandize too much, then you can kind of look a bit out of people's pay grades. And a bit too grand for a wedding. Oh dear me, these are going to be a little bit too grand for our humble little wedding, and that's important. Other things, very basic things, are get your description box on a website In other words, the words that describe you, your biography. It has to be intelligently put together, intelligently punctuated, paragraphed neatly. If it's chaotic and you're not spelling things correctly and you're missing out apostrophes, then I don't want to sound like an old pedant, but it's off-putting. It doesn't look professional. People think, do I want these people turning up at the wedding? You know, what they're going to be like? You know, they've missed out 4 apostrophes, 3 full stops, and started 3 sentences without a capital letter. Are they going to turn up without their trousers on? You know, there is that as well.
I think the rule of thumb there is, would you put that biography on your own website?
Would I what?
I'm saying, if you're actually filling in your profile on TalentGB,
yes.
Would you, if you had a whole bunch of spelling mistakes and the grammar was bad, you know, would you put that on your website?
Me.
If I'm saying, would the person filling in their profile, would they put that on their website? If not, then don't put it on TalentGB either.
You know, we're not all the best spellers in the world. Just find one person in the band, or their mum, or their father, just to come and look at it and say, you know, somebody with who can write nicely and succinctly, and put it together for you, because it's the first thing people see. You know, they look, they think, and then if it doesn't look right, there's always a dozen other bands like that one that they'll think, like, we'll click somewhere else. It's often the first impression. What does it look like? The pictures are good, the video is fantastic, the description is easy to read, it's not too self-aggrandizing, and you become more appealing. People are looking.
I mean, one of the things that I always try to impress on what we do is you do the I and the we test, and if there's too many we's and I's in your description, it's probably a little bit self-centered. There should be a lot more you's in there, i.e. what can you do for the client?
And a lot of bands a lot of artists, by their very nature, have to be very egocentric. I mean, let's be honest. And there are some genres of the entertainment industry that are more egocentric than others. And bands, young bands in particular, old bands tend to be a bit more sort of laid back, but young guys particularly tend to be very egocentric, and it's all about me, me, me. That's a very, very good point, Brad. And that is very, very off-putting, because what it says is, it gives out totally the wrong message for a wedding function. A wedding is not a performance. You do not perform. You're not on show. You are the background music. That's all you are. You have to be very good, stylish background music. It's not a concert. And if you're referring to yourself in the first person all the time, like you say, Brad, then that is totally the wrong message.
I mean, I think it strikes me that when you're looking at this, isn't necessarily just for TalentGB, it's for directory sites, it's for anywhere that you can post your details as a band and then look to try and get traffic to your own website or generate inquiries from that platform you've posted to. And I think a lot of the big mistake that, and I've made this, and I think a big mistake that a lot of people make, a lot of bands make, is they think that the platform is solely the thing that is going to bring their inquiries in.
Yes.
And it's not. It's the entry that you put, the content that you place on that platform.
Yes.
Which is the thing that is going to drive the inquiry. What the platform does for you is give you more exposure.
Correct.
So it can drive traffic to your profile on that platform, but the profile and the content within the profile is what actually drives the inquiry itself.
Correct, absolutely. It will make you visible, but it will put your wares on show, but it won't necessarily get them purchased.
So I think there's no, like with everything in life, sadly, there is no magic bullet. There is no click of the fingers and, we found this great platform. I'm going to just throw a few words up there, put my video up there, put my prices up and a link, and I'm going to start getting bookings.
Yes, exactly.
There's way more to do than that, from what I can gather.
It's absolutely correct. I mean, there are kind of stages that artists progress through, and some artists never progress past stage one. Stage one being sitting in the bedroom, strumming a guitar, singing into a hairbrush, looking at yourself in the mirror. The final part of the journey of being an artist is, standing on the stage at the O2, or being on TV or on the radio and selling thousands and thousands of discs. But, we're not all aiming for that. The second stage is, getting on a website but performing badly with a bad show reel, bad biography, thinking that, your music will say everything about you. And it won't say everything about you. It's too insular to think that way. Funnily enough, the group of artists that think more along those lines than any other group are comedians. They are very bad at self-promoting. They are almost reluctant to do it. They believe that what they do is a real art form, which of course it is. And they think their art will speak for itself, a bit like a poet. But it's not the case. It's not the case with bands. Your music won't speak for itself. You need to get it packaged correctly before people will buy it.
Well, I always hear, and I get out on Facebook and other kind of platforms where I kind of interact with a lot of people that come into contact with Gigging Success, and some people will say, what a load of rubbish! You just have to be good. You don't have to market yourself. You don't have to do sales. You just have to be good. And it couldn't be further from the truth, sadly. And the other point about this, and this is what I wake up and I have this on my office wall as well. If you've got something great, if you know you're really good, you should do everything in your power to tell as many people how great you are.
Absolutely correct.
And that means having to sell yourself and market yourself so you can communicate how great you are to those people that are most likely to ultimately want to book you for their event.
Absolutely correct. I've just been saying the very same thing this morning, funnily enough. We have a tie-in with the James Whale Radio Show podcast, which has been going since last September. Now, I said over the weekend, I'm the artistic director for the show, so we provide the bands and that sort of thing. And I said, look, let's get the listening figures. Let's have a very close look at how many people are listening. Now, in September, when we started, 49,000 people a month were listening. Now, we looked at the figures over the weekend. They are now 317,000 per month, plus many thousands more that we can't calculate when it's syndicated through 32 different internet radio stations. So my point was this: it's all very well being good, but we must tell people about it. Tell people how good it is. Actually, when I was in newspapers, we used to boast about circulation, because tabloids always do that. And we used to say, we're selling 4 million papers or 5 million papers. We are the best in the world. And people begin to understand that. And then the numbers of people buying it increase because they are aware they're buying the biggest selling newspaper.
Well, that is social proof in action, really, isn't it?
It's the same.
And it's the equivalent of that is in a sitcom when you hear canned laughter.
Yes, indeed. And
it brings on laughter because you feel as though everybody else is laughing, so you're almost kind of carried along psychologically with it, aren't you? Yeah.
Success breeds success. And if you have a successful band, you have to tell people in the right way that you're successful. You have to do it with an air of modesty. But if you have performed in front of 500 people and you had 30 people at the door taking your picture afterwards when you left, you need to say that. And maybe just by thanking the people for doing that, for being there, thanking the 500 people and the people who queued up for tickets. That tells people, in the best possible way, you're a successful band, and people will then think, well, we must look out for this band, and the next time they're at Ronnie Scott's, or the next time they're performing on our patch, we'll go and see them. It's it's self-referencing in a very gentle way.
Well, Neville, thank you. We're out of time. That's been great. There's some real interesting things that came up there, and I think to me it kind of feels key to not just throw your content up on a platform like talentgb.com, but actually think about, almost treat it like a second website.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and then you're going to get more out of it than you would otherwise have done. So, well, listen, Neville, thanks very much. It's been really interesting, and hopefully we'll catch up with you in the near future and see how Talent GB is going. Just before we go, where can people get hold of you? It's talentgb.com, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and if they go to the kind of contact us page, they can get hold of you there as well, and there's some pages about your team and what services you offer. Is that right?
Absolutely, and if anybody wants to be on it, all they've got to do is send me an email with a link to some material, and we hope to have you on. I must say one thing: we have some very good acts on, but it's not all about being famous. We have Joe McElderry, we have Mary Byrne, we have Andy Abraham, X Factor winners, jive aces, bands, like Jive and Miss Daisy. But we might have Joe McElderry, but we'll also have Joe Bloggs. If Joe Bloggs can sell tickets for £5 each and get 30 people in that pub, he's a valid artist, just as valid an artist as Joe McElderry. If he has people who will pay to see him, and he does what he sets out to do well, then he's good enough, he or she are good enough to be on our site.
Fantastic. Neville, thanks very much, and we'll catch up with you in the near future.
My pleasure, Brad.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.
So there it is. Neville, thank you very much for his insights. Really useful stuff there. So hope that you've managed to get some value for that. I'd really love to hear what your thoughts are about the show. If you've got any feedback for me, so please email me direct at brad@gigingsuccess.com. That's brad@gigingsuccess.com. Let me know what you think. If you feel as though you could be a guest on the show, I'd love to hear from you. If you've had some success with your cover band and you want to share your story with us, I'd love to hear from you, and we can have a chat and we can go from there. In the meantime, get yourself over to gigingsuccess.com/CBE for the Cover Band Essentials Guide, which is proving to be really popular. We're getting a lot of people who are implementing one or two of the strategies in there and getting some real results, which is fantastic. So that's gigingsuccess.com/CBE for the Cover Band Essentials Guide. Until next time, to your gigging success.